Maneuvering in chess, and welcome back. We will to your fine good squares for the pieces host. Today I'm Suneberg Hansen and this is DM Talks, and I'm so sorry we've been away for a while. We have had technical issues, I have had COVID-19, and I've been traveling, and we're all back now. And actually from next week, where I'm going to India for the Olympiad, we will have a video every day here on DM Talks. So I hope you have not abandoned ship and you're ready to see some interesting chess. I'll try to explain in depth how to maneuver in this great game between Moke Niemann and Samuel Sevian. And we will switch the colors because we are rooting for black. Okay, are you ready? Let's rumble. And by the way, please give feedback on the sound and the recording and so on. We hope the quality is fine. I think I solved the issue. If I have not solved it, I will need to call my technical assistant. Sevian is black, and by the way, he won this preliminary road FTX Road to Miami tournament, which was a bit surprising. Because I actually didn't think he was getting that strong, but he is getting very strong. And he's up against the big new hope for American chess, Moke Niemann, who's a very interesting player and has a great attitude. I really like his style, that he's sort of always playing for a win. By the way, this is the Italian, and after this move d3, we know that it's a guiccio piano, which means quiet play. And the reason why it's called quiet play is because white does not go all crazy with d4, and the Italian is a big battleground for very interesting strategic games. There are a lot of plans for each side, and it seems like it's much richer than previously thought. White has this advantage that this pawn here is on c3, making this knight a little stupid, and this pawn here on c7 is actually constrained by the knight, and you can't move the knight because the knight is attacking here. So that is the problem for black. That's not much of a problem, but it is nevertheless a little bit unpleasant. d6 is a move you can play. In the old days, everybody played a6, but d6 is much more popular nowadays. And in general, black is not so afraid of this idea. Castle and castle. Black could, of course, play some other ideas with h6 and d5. Trying to attack it. I don't really think it works, but it is a bit dangerous. But this is, of course, the main line. Rook e1 is also the main line. Smartest move in this position. The rook needs to be here also to make room for this maneuver with the knight from b1 to d2 to f1 and hopefully to d3. And this pair of knights here are in general quite strong. They can attack everything on the king side very quickly. a6 is a common move, and now we have sort of transposed into the main line, and white goes a4. And a4 is a rather recent discovery that in this position usually white plays this, but of course after a6 black is actually threatening to play this move and sort of attack the bishop. And this bishop, you don't really want to miss this bishop. It's a very good bishop, and you need it for your play. So, but a4 is a smarter way of preserving the bishop. Now it can go back to a2, and it also gets some space on the queen side. So a4 is a really smart new invention, and that has injected a lot of life into white's game. h6, preventing the pin here, and in general a useful move. So white does the same. If he plays something like this, sometimes this can be annoying. So it is a normal thing. And here comes an interesting move, a5, and that looks like really serious waste of time. But it's not, because this pawn on a5, actually, that's also why I think for instance, here, this is a mistake due to this move, because that's sort of one way better for black. So in general, white is waiting with a4 until black plays a6. At least that's how I understand it, but I can see that Anand does it differently. Anyway, this is of course a move you can play, and because also the position is rather quiet, so not much going on here. And bishop e6, and that's been a very disputed way of playing for black. In the old days, everybody thought, this is smart. You'll get a pawn, extra pawn in the center, and you will have an attack. White usually takes. You'll have an attack down the f file. But then it turned out that this double pawn here is a little bit and white was finding some ways to get an advantage from this setup. So black sort of lost faith in this way of playing, but recently got it back. And this, by the way, is a very good example of this. Knight h5 is a useful move, clearing the f file, getting ready to jump here. Very normal move. Also preventing knight g3. Bishop e3, standard move in this position. Take, and I think against I played this move here in something similar to this position, but of course rook e3 is the way really white want to play. He's hoping that in the long run, the weakness of the double pawns will tell, that he will be able to gradually push back black and get an advantage. Black, of course, is hoping that dynamics in the I seem to never stop doing that. In this file will begin to tell. Knight f4, normal move. King h2. So white is getting ready. He's covering the pawn with the queen and getting ready to dispel the knight from this post. d5, and that's a very sort of the new dynamic way to play, and that's why black is not so afraid of this anymore. He was getting a slightly bad results with this setup, but after that, it turned out there are some problems for white in the d file, that and this is not so easy to exploit. Then black started playing this again. d3, good move. Kicking the knight has to go, and it probably has to go here, defending this pawn. And king g2. Notice this move. This is something that good players always do. The king needs to guard the pawn, needs to guard the knight, so it has to get out of h2. Queen d6, and also because the queen was always going there, and then, well, it's not a problem yet, but at some point it will be. And this is a standard way, and basically white is hoping to put a lot of pressure on black's position with things like this, and something like maybe even like this. But there is also something like this you have to take into account, so this rook does not get trapped. Rook a d8 is already threatening to take on e4. Queen b3 is attacking here. You might not want to take it, but it's annoying for black that he has to look at this all the time, that it might be hanging. So Sevian plays b6, good move, just making sure nothing bad happens. Rook d1, a little bit interesting, because I think in general you would not mind if black was to play d takes e4 and white took back with the pawn. That would be clearly to white's advantage in general. He will get control over the d file, or exchange a lot of pieces, and this pawn will be weak, and the pressure on the f file will sort of fizzle out. So rook d1 is with the intention to take back with the rook. Of course, that exploits the pawn even more, but it's also a little bit clumsy. Rook f7, preventing this stuff from happening and getting ready for this move in the future. h4 is also a common move, getting ready to kick the knight and showing that white actually does not stand inferior on the king side. Knight f8, and this here is a crucial moment in the game. So far, both sides have played rather sort of logical, and I have a feeling that white should be slightly better. For instance, if he plays something like this, changing the position, he will have a slightly better pawn structure. He will be a little bit more harmonious, and I think white can count on a slight advantage in this position. It's not something big, but it is a little bit annoying, and this weakness in the e-pawn is not going away anytime soon, and this knight will be good. But it's playable for black. It's nothing horrible happened. Instead, he played knight d4, which looks very logical. Just getting ready to take the pawn and take the pawn, and it looks like black is in some sort of trouble here. But he has this move, and this is excellent timing. And here I think white is already starting to slip a little bit, and here he takes, and that's clearly a mistake. He's hoping that this will later be good, but it turns out it's not really the best of ways, and it gives up this square. And this is what we talk about by maneuvering. One of White's main hopes is that he keeps pieces out on all the way here, and that's something he should keep doing, and he's not doing it after this move and this move. Here black is already starting to look rather good, because this knight here, it's not making sense anymore since there's no pawn on e5, and black got this nice outpost for the knight. There's also this nice outpost for the knight, and so on. And after knight d7, I'm already thinking black has a clear advantage. He's simply threatening to go here, and so on, and white will might get into trouble. And it, by the way, it's very typical for Hans not to to be too afraid, so he launches on. That was the plan with taking on d4, but it turns out that these squares here are much better than what these two knights can do at the moment. It looks like d4 might be falling, but that will expose all the other weak pawns. Queen b5, interesting move. Here, black can probably already play something like knight here, knight b4, like this, and is threatening something like this, and black, and after for instance something like this could be a line I found. Black is much better in the ending. He will get back the pawn, and he will have more of an attack for sure. So this is really unpleasant for white, and I wouldn't like to have this position. We see that this knight is just simply completely misplaced. So this was a nice maneuver, but when he took on d4 and it was not good, then it turns out to be completely misplaced. Anyway, it's going to be worse, much worse. Here, Sevian plays this move, and by the way, this shows that he feels absolutely confident that his position is better here, because just playing it very positional, saying, okay, I got all these squares here, and I'm gonna put pressure on your pawns, and your queen's might get me into trouble, and so on. And Hans continues with the attack, and after this, he's starting to feel a little bit uneasy here, because you might even threaten something like this and here. So the rook is on c1, might be misplaced. And after this, white realizes, this is not good, because something like this is just a total disaster, and the rook is lost. So this is, by the way, very nice maneuvering. Look at this, rook d5, just threatening this, and taking complete control over the situation. And the way black's pieces start to sort of work together is really nice. So white covers the rook, comes another queen d7, very nice little move. Might be threatening a4, but that's not the main point. The main point is also to cover this pawn, and getting ready for another nice little move. And white's attack is not coming anywhere on the king side. He would love to have something like this work, but it simply does not work. It's just losing. Black has great control of the situation, so this is simply not yet helping. And here comes the other knight in here, and we see that this is gonna be really, really, really unpleasant for the white player. And after this move, it gets even worse. White is defending. He should probably have done something like this, trying to control, because here Black has a great little move that really, really, really hurts. Boom, sucking the king out into the open, and it's gonna be really nice finish here. So hang on and don't stop watching yet. Rook here, attacking rook c5, attacking the queen on c4, and opening for the queen to give a check here, which will also be unpleasant. And rook here, paving the way for the other knight to join the game, and sort of putting the king completely in the dark, and also threatening this move. He's trying to run back, and it's not helping, of course. Queen c6, very, very nice. And this exchange sacrifice was just perfectly timed. After this move, it's really, really, really bad for poor white. What to do? The queen can't move. The king is in trouble here, and this pawn is of course threatened. It could also be with this one. It doesn't matter. So rook here, and here comes the finish, attacking both rooks, rook and knight. And of course, Sevian, he calculates rather well. He had seen the finish here, that after something like this, which was white is hoping to get this in with at least perpetual check, but it's too late. Black is not taking the rook. He's simply playing check, and due to the pin, check on f4, due to the pin, he has to move the king. If it goes here, then this is made immediately, so it has to go forward. And here is the finish, g5, and white is losing his king after this move. So very nice game by Sevian, and we see that there was small maneuvering things that happened to white, and suddenly his position got really bad. And that, by the way, is a mark of a great player. And I believe this Samuel Sevian, he will be a very strong player in the future. I was, by the way, a little bit surprised he has not sort of broken through before. Anyways, this was DM Talks. I'm happy we are back. I hope the quality of the recording is okay. Thank you for watching.